When did the dinosaurs arise on Earth? What were some of the first dinosaurs? How and where did they live? Join us as we discover the history of the first of the mightiest beasts the Earth has ever known, the dinosaurs. Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus's first fossil was found in the Egyptian desert by the Bavarian paleontologist Freiherr Ernst Stromer, who led a German expedition in 1910. Apart from the dinosaurs' bones, there were also fossil remains of turtles and crocodile-like reptiles that were approximately 100 million years old. The Spinosaurus lived in the Albian to Cenomerian stages of the Cretaceous Period over 90 million years ago. Stromer named the Spinosaurus Aegypticus, meaning the Egyptian spined lizard, because of the sail or fin on its back. The specimen was stored in the Alte Akademie Museum in Munich, but later destroyed in an air raid during World War II in 1944. The only surviving evidence is the detailed drawings and descriptions archived in Germany. It was very fortunate that in 1996, Canadian paleontologist Dale Russell found more remains in Morocco. More discoveries were made later in Algeria in 1998, Tunisia in 2002, and Morocco again in 2008. It is believed comes from Western Europe, and after the continent started to break up, they migrated down to northern Africa. Its close relative, Irritator and Oxalia, had been found in Brazil. What made this animal so unique was its skeleton, as an array of spines that looked like bony swords stuck up from its vertebrae. The sail may have acted as a heat regulation device, absorbing warmth from the sun or shedding excess body heat into the wind. It may have also been brightly coloured and used for signalling with other Spinosaurus dinosaurs, or even attracting a mate. It could have been used for displays as a form of protection and to scare other animals. Another theory is that the bony blades supported a tall, fleshy hump, perhaps used for storing food. Spinosaurus is considered as the largest known carnivore ever discovered. It could reach a length of up to 60 feet, which is over 18 meters. It was as long as a tyrannosaur, but more lightly built. Its weight is estimated at 12 to 20,000 kilograms, or 12 to 20 tons. It had a long, narrow skull, about 1.7 meters, or 6 feet long. A long and narrow snout, a massive jaw with 64 conical, sharp teeth that are similar to the modern crocodiles. The Spinosaurus was a carnivore, but fish was its main diet. Some of the species it preyed on were giant coelacanths, sawfish, large lungfish, or sharks. There is isotopic evidence from Spinosaurus's teeth that at least some individuals were eating partially or fully terrestrial prey, maybe even other dinosaurs. According to the paleontologists Dr. Hone and Dr. Holtz, as well as the earlier research by Dr. Ibrahim and his team, it was presumed that Spinosaurus had a relatively small number of tail muscles, even less than modern crocodiles. Spinosaurus had nostrils back on its long snout, and like a heron, it had broad feet, and like a stork, it had a head and neck adapted for a strong downward strike. With such body build, Spinosaurus would have some difficulties in chasing the prey in the deepest waters. However, It would help it hunting along the shoreline or a river system, paddling like a heron to seize prey, or swimming at the surface and dipping down to ambush fish below. It is believed that Spinosaurus was semi-aquatic and could swim quite well, but it wasn't an otter-like creature. Dr. Ibrahim said the Spinosaurus was better equipped for hunting underwater than any other known dinosaur. In 2022, the scientists analyzed the bone densities of Spinosaurus, Baryonyx, and Suchomimus. The results showed that both Spinosaurus and Baryonyx's bones were adapted to dive deep underwater, whereas Suchomimus would have been more suited to wading in shallow water. While on the land, it's possible that Spinosaurus walked on its two hind legs. Spinosaurus died out before another large predator, Tyrannosaurus rex, appeared. The reasons why these dinosaurs died out are still debated today. The Cretaceous Period. The Cretaceous Period was the last and longest part of the Mesozoic era that spread over 79 million years after the Jurassic Period, about 145 million years ago, to the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event dated at 66 million years ago. The supercontinent, Pangaea, was drifting apart. The Tethys Ocean still separated the northern Laurasia continent from southern Gondwana. The North and South Atlantic were still closed, although the Central Atlantic had begun to open up in the late Jurassic Period. By the middle of the period, ocean levels were much higher, covering the landmass. Towards the end of the period, the continents were much closer to what we have now. Africa and South America had evolved their shapes into what we presently know. However, India was still part of Antarctica. Conifers, cycads, and other gymnosperms continued into the lower Cretaceous. These plants diversified more by the middle of the period, especially by the swamps, which were dominated by conifers and angiosperm dicots. The Cretaceous period was well known for the development and radiation of the flowering plants. Magnolia, ficus, and sassafras quickly outnumbered the typical Jurassic vegetation. The oldest angiosperm fossil that has been found to date is Archaeofructus lawanensis, found by Ji Sun and David Dilcher in China. The plant had a similar look to the modern black pepper and is thought to be at least 122 million years old. Angiosperms, or Anthophyta, pushed the conifers to high altitudes and mountainous areas. The angiosperms thrived in a variety of environments, such as areas with damper climates, habitats favored by cycads and cycodians and cycadioids, and riparian zones, and developed shrub or tree-like morphologies by the end of the Cretaceous period. Ferns dominated open, dry, and low-nutrient lands. The insect population was most likely well established before the first flowers. Diverse flower forms lured insects to pollinate them, and thus insects adapted to different ways of gathering nectar and moving pollen, thus setting up the complex co-evolutionary systems that are familiar to us today. At about the same time, many modern groups of insects, such as ants and butterflies, started to diversify. Another important insect to evolve was a eusocial bee that lived in large communities. During the Cretaceous period, the sky started to be more busy as more ancient birds took flight, joining the pterosaurs. Confucius ornis, that lived 125 to 140 million years ago was a crow-sized bird and had a modern beak. It was characterized by enormous claws at the top of the wings. Amargasaurus, a contemporary, only the size of a modern sparrow, was capable of flight close to the lake areas and probably lived on insects. It is debated by many experts how flight took place. Was it because some small reptiles evolved flight from gliding down the trees? Or rather, because of small theropods that may have evolved the ability from trying to leap from high to catch prey? Ancestors to modern grebes, cormorants, pelicans and sandpipers appeared in the Cretaceous. Other creatures, such as frogs, salamanders, turtles, crocodiles and snakes, thrived on the coasts. Mouse-looking mammals mainly occupied the forests. If it comes to the dinosaurs, some, like Apatosaurus and Diplodocus, went extinct at the end of the Jurassic period. But soon they were replaced by other great sauropods, including the titanosaurs, that flourished especially towards the end of the Cretaceous. Theropods, including Tyrannosaurus rex, continued as prime predators until the end of the Cretaceous. Animals lived on all continents from cooler poles to very warm deep deserts. Ammonites, belemnites, other mollusks and fish were hunted by great marine reptiles. The long-necked Plesiosaurus had to share warm shallow seas with the giant snake-like Mosasaurus. Rays and modern sharks became common. Sea urchins and starfish thrived, and coral reefs continued to grow. Diatoms, a type of shelled plankton, made their first radiation into the ocean, whilst freshwater diatoms did not appear until the Miocene epoch, about 23 million years ago. Amargasaurus. The Amargasaurus's only known skeleton was discovered in February 1984 by Guillermo Rouget during an expedition led by Argentine archaeologist José Bonaparte. This was the 8th expedition of the project Jurassic and Cretaceous Terrestrial Vertebrates of South America, which was sponsored by the National Geographic Society. The specimen included the intact fossilized skeleton and a fragmented skull found in their original anatomical position. It is one of the most studied dinosaurs of the time due to the exceptional state of the almost complete specimen. Salgado and Bonaparte named the dinosaur in 1991. The meaning of the name being the lizard from the Amarga Canyon. It is believed that Amargasaurus's life on Earth spanned between 145 to 100.5 million years ago, in the Hortorivian stage of the early Cretaceous. It roamed in Argentina, the Nequan province. The Amargasaurus fossil can be dated to between 129 and 122 million years ago. The paleontologists discovered it in the La Amarga Formation, which has outcrops in the Argentine province of Rio Negro, Nequan and Mendoza. It is the oldest Cretaceous terrestrial formation in the Nequan Basin. The oldest member of the La Amarga Formation is a Puesto Antiguel member, which is approximately 28.9 meters or 95 feet thick and consists mainly of sandstone deposited in the channels of a braided river system. Ancient soil deposits are well developed and preserved most of the tetrapod four-legged animal fossils. This individual was a sauropod dinosaur closely related to Dicraeosaurus, and both belong to the superfamily of Diplodocus, The family includes some of the longest and largest of all dinosaurs, such as Diplodocus and Spinosaurus, some of which have reached lengths of up to 42 meters or 138 feet long. It was a huge animal, about 12 meters or 39 feet. It had a long neck and tail. It stood on 4 legs and had a herbivorous diet. Just the neck of the holotype individuals was about 2.4 meters long. Total body length unknown, due to most of the tail being missing at the time. What characterized Amargasaurus was the tall, elongated neural spines jutting up from its backbone. All diplodocid spines were split into 2 separate elements. However, in Amargasaurus, this split was carried to an extreme. The spines on its neck vertebra were incredibly long. The double row of spines along its back may have supported a twin sail of skin. The sail was probably used for signaling, attracting mates, or for temperature regulation. The spines on the neck were paired and did not carry a sail, as this would have obstructed movement. They were more likely to have been covered in horn and were possibly used as defensive weapons. Amargasaurus and Cretaceous both had very short necks when compared to other sauropod dinosaurs. It is speculated that in other dicerasaurid sauropods, the necks are enlarged above the vertebral column, but not to the size extent of Amargasaurus. It would give more support to the display idea for the neck shape and added weight and bulk. The rest of the body of Amargasaurus is typical for a dicerasaurid sauropod, a subgroup of the diplodocid sauropods. Dicerasaurids had small body size and long, thin, whip-like tails. Amargasaurus's partial skull remains indicate that it probably held its head down, as in the mouth pointing more towards the ground as opposed to perfectly horizontal. These groups of dinosaurs primarily browsed close to the ground or at mid-height. Only Dicerasaurus within the Dicerasaurids has well-preserved dentition, and it was established that the teeth were designed for the grinding and chewing of tough plants. The inner ear revealed that if horizontal registered as 0 degrees and vertical as 90 degrees, then the snout would point at the ground at about 65 degrees. During the reconstruction of the inner ear, it was revealed that Amargasaurus would have had poorer hearing than many other sauropod dinosaurs. Other interesting sauropods with hyper-developed neural spines from the Cretaceous of South America include Brachiosaurus and Agostina. Fukuiraptor. Fukuiraptor kitadaniensis. In early Cretaceous period, the theropods began to diversify, and all kinds of meat-eating dinosaurs started to evolve. However, the traditional line of theropods, the carnosaurs, which were the main hunters of the big plant-eaters of the Jurassic period, continued to flourish. One of the theropod large claw, or the killing claw, was discovered during an excavation on the small Fukui Island in Japan. It was named Fukuiraptor by Izuna and Curry in the year 2000. The meaning of the name is a thief or plunderer from Fukui, who belonged to a family of raptors. Fukuiraptor is known from the Kitadani Formation of the Kitadani Quarry near Katsuyama in the Fukui Prefecture, and possibly also the Sebayashi Formation. The specimen was incomplete, with a partial skull, and believed to belong to an immature individual. Therefore, an adult may have been larger. Fukuiraptor was a relatively lightly built animal, regardless of its maturity. It was medium-sized, about 4 to 5 meters or 14 to 16 feet, and an estimated weight of 300 to nearly 600 kilograms, or 660 to 1,300 pounds. The distinct teeth of Fukuiraptor show similarities with both Carcharodontosaurids, being very complicated and blade-like, as well as having wrinkled enamel, and Tyrannosaurids having oblique blood grooves near the serrations. The sharp teeth were used to tear the flesh of its prey. The raptor part of the name demonstrates that when this dinosaur was originally named, it was thought to have been one of the Maniraptorans, the clade that comprises birds, dromaeosaurs, and troodontids, which had a big killing claw on the second toe of the hind foot. Instead, this was found to be a claw from the hand, and the animal was reclassified as a basal Carnosaurus. More recent studies consider it a Megaraptoran, a clade of carnivorous titanuran theropod dinosaurs with 3 fingers or fewer, an extra opening in the side of the skull behind the nostril, and the stiffened tail. The members of the Megaraptoridae had elongated hand claws and proportionally large arms, unlike other theropods. Various phylogenetic analyses have suggested that Fukuiraptor and other Megaraptorans are either allosaurids or non-tyrannosaurid basal coelurosaurs. Other Japanese theropods, Kitadinosaurus and Katsuyamasaurus, are now thought to have been Fukuiraptor. Fukuiraptor was a carnivorous dinosaur that was large enough to hunt lizards, passing pterosaurs, or possibly even fish. The long arms with large claws helped this animal to catch the fish. It was a bipedal dinosaur that walked on 2 hind legs. It had 3 toes with sharp claws on the end. The tail was long and used to aid balance. These videos take a very long time to create. If you would like to support the channel and assist in improving it, then do please subscribe and give us a like, and consider joining our Patreon. Links in the description.